Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. I finally am ready to talk about The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I have a lot of things to say, but I'm going to try to keep it short. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off by telling you all what the book is about, what I liked about it, what I disliked about it, and whether or not I think you should read it. So essentially this book, we follow our protagonist Ren from a rural province. She is about to be forced into a marriage that she has no desire to be in. She's going to be a child bride and she wants a better future for herself. So we follow her on the journey of doing everything within her power to get into Senegard, which is the premier training academy for those who will go on to be leaders and the most elite in the military, or their version of the military. Lo and behold, against all odds, she gets in, and then we follow her at Senegard, where she is training to become initially a fighter, one of the most elite fighters, and then she picks her focus and we watch her continue on the path of becoming a shaman or studying. She's studying lore, which has to do with spirituality. And within this, we're watching her go through multiple struggles because we have like 3 parts. So part 1, we see her fighting to get into Senegard. Part 2, we see her training and becoming who she will be. Or who she desires to be. And then part 3, we see the war, right? Everything she's been training for that they hope wouldn't happen in their lifetime is happening. And so that's what happens. We watch her go through that. Now within that high level overview, a lot happens and I want to talk about it. There are some pros and there are some cons. So our opening line reads, "Take your clothes off." And I really enjoyed that because we have no idea what the story is going to be about. We do from the description, but with that one line, it's inciting. You're like, what's going on? It could go a million ways. So I thought that was a good opening line. I thought early on, the author also did a good job of using descriptive language and creating vivid imagery for us to imagine what's happening. I liked initially how scrappy Rin was, how she was willing to do whatever it took and use whatever she had at her disposal to get what she wanted. I liked that she was able to leverage what she had, or what her foster parents had, in order to get what she wanted, in order to get out. I really initially felt really connected to Rin because no matter what she did, there was always struggles, there was always challenges. She had a really hard time getting out. And so I really believe that storyline the way the author wrote it, of us following the underdog, fighting for her survival, fighting for the life that she desired. Once she gets to Senegard, I liked her scrappiness. I liked that she stood on her morals. She wouldn't let anyone disrespect her teacher. I did feel as if she gave him too much credit, but you know, she was like, she credits him with saving her life, but she did all the hard work. But I appreciated her attitude of gratitude. I also liked how the author set up the contention between Rin and Yin, and Rin and Neza. I also like that she has a friend in Kate. I like these characters that she developed. I liked some aspects of Jiang, who is he's tropish. He's like the enlightened comedic relief of a mentor who is quirky, is never at his classes, never where he should be, always high, seems really unserious. People can't figure out why he's even there. Though it is tropish, it does work, at least initially. I like that there were a lot of foils here. You could see many characters like being the opposite of another, or even in the case, at one point, Rin and Kate, who is her only friend, goes to see a puppet show, a shadow puppet show, and it is definitely very much foreshadowing of what's to come. And you kind of get that in the moment, even though our protagonist really doesn't. But I really did like that use of imagery and foreshadowing there. I also was curious if it was a prophecy, but prophecy doesn't come up then, it comes up later. So I liked that all tied in, because I felt like that could be a prophecy, but then they actually do get a real prophecy. I initially really like that Rin and Kate are very opposite. She believes in spirituality. Kate is very much in what's reality. He has a photographic memory, so he's very much into knowledge and book understanding, but that causes him to have a limitation because he discards all other possibilities, which, like, obviously as someone who loves to read, you can read all of the books in the world, but you still only have a limited perspective. Some of the wisest people in the world can't read, can't write, and they have knowledge from lived experiences or knowledge that's been passed along across generations through verbal oral tales. So I thought that was a limitation, and this will come back up again later. I have in my notes, I said Islam I said is Ren queer because she was going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over the Empress, which is interesting, the impact that the Empress has on everyone. I did say I love the friends to enemy trope between Ren and Neza. That will come back up again in my cons. There are a lot of tropes here, but early on they really work. So again, the past and present happening at the same time was something here. So we had Tiaza in the past, and then the modern day Empress, and the choices they have to make, and then the choice that Ren has to make. I like how all of that continue to build on each other, and you could compare it, and how the different choices that folks make impact them and impact their people. One thing I did like here was also the idea of questioning, right, of what's real and what isn't. And there's this theoretical question of, did man create God or did God create man, and which one needs which to exist? And I liked here that she kind of really created as a transactional affair. They both needed each other. Humans need the power of the gods, and the gods need vessels in order to do their will. So I really liked that. I really loved the first, at least the first half, probably the first two parts. I really enjoyed them. And then things take a turn. Let's talk about my cons. Again, the foreshadowing, some things you could just see coming, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I could see that being something that folks wouldn't necessarily enjoy. Sometimes folks like surprises, but I feel like for some things you could foreshadow, but for some things you could not. Her writing of the teachers, I said they seemed to be like elitish and like trash humans. It wasn't unrealistic, but it was still a con. It was like annoying to read, but I understood the use of that trope. So coming back to Jiyoung, sometimes it was excessive, or it just felt like he was too much of a comedic relief. Like at one point he says something profound, and then he gets up and hits his head on a branch, and it's just like, let's have something more creative there. We've seen that done a number of times. And not to say that you can't do something that's already been done, but you want it to be unique. Another thing that I would say about the characters is that we will see changes either between relationships or character development, but we don't see how that came to be. We're told it, and that does take away, especially in the third part, where things are changing rapidly or a lot is happening with the war. And I just feel like things could have been spelled out more. Like people are changing their core values almost in the way they operate and what they choose, and their personalities are shifting. And it would have been nice to see that fleshed out more for us to actually comprehend how and why these changes are occurring. Another thing that really bothered me is that sometimes with this work, I could see aspects of other works that were pulled from, or at least it seemed that way. For instance, Game of Thrones, I feel like there were a lot of Game of Thrones references. For instance, the heads that were on display, that were on spikes on display. And obviously it's not fair because you could have pulled that from history, but still it felt relevant. It was also the beast that steals faces and becomes different people. And there were others. And just for me, again, creativity, sometimes it just felt like tropes and things that we had seen done before. So that was definitely a con. Again, some things felt Marvel-esque, even when she referred to Altan as an Avenger. I understood the verbiage, but again, it just felt too on the nose, too something that I had already seen, and it detracted for me. But I think the biggest issue for me, other than the fact that we see characters change and we're told that characters change and we don't get to see that core development, I just felt like the third part was unhinged. I feel like it lost its way. I feel like a lot was going on, too much. And I felt like it was all gonna circle back somehow and we're gonna have this epic ending, but it didn't. It didn't all come together in a way for me that felt authentic. Like Altan, I felt like his character did dirty, honestly. At first, I felt like he had a very intriguing storyline, but then he just becomes mad. And we get some of his background to understand it, but even that, I didn't believe it all the way. Like, I just have mixed emotions about this book because I wanted to love it and it started off so great, but then it just deteriorated in a way that, like, I'm still grappling with. I finished this book over a week ago and it's taking me time to really try to wrap my brain around how I feel about it, because I'm like, I don't love it the way that I thought I would, especially not the way the first part made me believe that I would. There are some strong things about it, so much so that, like, you can't see it, but I have the second one over there. I'm going to read it. Here's the thing about series. I get invested in the characters. I want to know what's going to happen. And so I want to see it through. But I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about where the series will go. And there was some good writing. I kid you not. The first part was so strong. Second part was cool. Third part, I was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I was trying to give grace because I was like, maybe that's because it's the war and it's indicative of the state of war they're in, how desperate they are. But no, like, it's so much so that the end ended up feeling anticlimactic and lackluster for me. I don't believe here's the issue. I don't believe Ren's story arc. I'm not convinced that Ren started where she started and ended up where she ended up. And her being a Spearly wasn't a strong enough rationale for me to believe her storyline. That is my issue. I also don't like the way that Neza is treated. Is Neza alive or is Neza dead? It was the back and forth for me that was like, I was like, stop doing that to Neza. Neza kept being the character where we're like left on edge of like, is he alive? Is he gonna make it? Oh, he's like not gonna be able to walk. He's paralyzed. Oh, now he's well. Oh, his family probably has shamans. Oh, he's hiding something. Oh, like, can Neza catch a break? Can I catch a break? Because I want to know where he's at. Is he okay? Is he gonna pop up in book 2? I have questions. And maybe that's the issue. I left from reading this book with more questions than I felt like I had answers. And I feel like there's so much potential here. And I'm going to see it through, but I'm nervous. So overall, it was okay. Dang, I had such high hopes. Anyway, so with that, based on my scale of read now, read when you have time, or read if you want. Ooh, Poppy War. I'm going to say read if you have time, because some people might really love it. And there are some aspects of it that are really good. And the first part, the first third, so good. So good. And it just continues to go downhill. But I'm going to continue to read it to see where it goes. And some of you might actually love it. So I don't want to say don't read it. And the writing, I want to see her mature and improve as a writer. It wasn't horrible. You could just tell that she was a new writer. And that's what happens. Sometimes the debut works. And you get to watch authors improve over time. Listen, I tell you all the time, I don't think J.K. Rowling became a good writer until book 3. Didn't become a great writer until book 5. So we have to allow people the opportunity and chance to mature. I'm going to give her that opportunity. I'm going to continue to read the series. And if this sounds interesting to you all, I recommend you do the same. That's it for me. As always, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. Until the next one, please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the very best day of your life on purpose. Peace. Double. Adios. Ciao.